Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the Late Show with your host, Young Brando, live from Los Angeles. How's everybody? I'm struggling in this heat. I can't believe it. I'm also extremely stingy, so no AC for me. It will have to remain that way. So I have to be, once again, simply with a shirt in front of you. I do apologize for my appearance, but I'm a proud Canelo fan, so that should help. I don't know if my boxing people still watch me in any way, but I'm still here for it. Um, let's get started. I want to talk about a few different pieces of news. Some of the stuff I posted on Instagram in the last couple of days, and also about Only Watch again. Not necessarily about this or that watch, but an interesting piece of news that should get people on different parts of the globe pretty excited. But let me start first with what I've been posting on Instagram the last few days. I'll start with the most recent post. Um, I told you a friend of mine gave me these very nice Japanese magazines. For example, this particular one has the Kodo Constant Force that won the Chronometry Award on in last year's Grand Prix, and just great pics, great photography. I'm sure great writing as well, which I can, of course, not understand, not reading any Japanese. But anyway, so their black and white photography, of course, very much inspired me because one of the covers was dedicated to the Vacheron Constantin Historique 222, which was their rather faithful recreation of their first integrated bracelet luxury sports watch, the model that was designed by Jörg Haschek and released to mark the 222nd anniversary of the manufacture. That's quite impressive because that was already back in 1977. And as you know, Vacheron Constantin to this day remains the longest continuously operating watchmaker in the entire world. And that is precisely the kind of legacy they celebrate with that series, Les Historiques. That's the kind of um, legacy that they're trying to uphold, also with their long extant program of buying some of the very special pieces, vintage pieces by Vacheron Constantin, and rehauling them, restoring them, and offering them to collectors, right? That's their les collectionneurs. And, we have all gone crazy about uh, the kind of service and the kinds of drops that Jaeger-LeCoultre curated now twice under their new initiative, the collectibles. But Vacheron has been doing it for quite some time now. Well, that cover, which is their issue, I think issue number 12, which was dedicated to gold and bracelet watches, was assigned to the 222, and in their characteristic style, it is good photography that renders the object, that renders the watch in black and white. And of course, that kind of inspires you to see the new 222 in a different light. As you know, it's a pretty faithful reproduction. Two important differences. The Rejo is actually mirror polished, which kind of enhances the jewelry aspect of the watch, the kind of pizzazz of the piece. And of course, there's an in-house movement now rather than the original caliber, which was based on the JLC 920. No surprise there, of course, because that movement basically defined certainly the first generation of integrated bracelet luxury sports watches by the big three, Audemars Piguet, Patek Philippe, and Vacheron Constantin, the Nautilus, the Royal Oak, and the 222 in no particular order. And of course, this reminded me of the fact that the 222 was offered in stainless steel. It was also offered in a two-tone expression, right, in stainless steel with yellow gold accents and details. And finally, also an 18-karat yellow gold version, which this Historique 222 recreates. And supposedly there is a pièce unique, there's a one-of-a-kind example of a white gold 222 as well, which should be quite a stunning piece. I wonder if they are going to bring back the 222 in some other way. I wonder if they are going to recreate the 222 in other metals. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you would be interested in such a recreation. I have a feeling that they will do white gold for whatever reason, if they're going to do anything at all, if they're going to do anything next. Somehow I feel that they're going to hold off on the stainless steel a little while longer. Of course, Brad Pitt, everyone's favorite Vacheron Constantin 222 wearer, was wearing a vintage stainless steel example at the center court in Wimbledon when he was watching that stunning final between Carlos Alcaraz and Novak Djokovic. I, for one, would love to see it in different metals. I'm not a huge fan of the 222 or the overseas for that matter, but I really appreciate the kind of entry or re-entry that Vacheron Constantin made into the segment. And I always appreciate the kind of detail, workmanship, but most importantly, aesthetic vision that they bring into their creations. It's a great brand. Speaking of recreations and limited editions, Porsche Design very ably and capably used the 50th anniversary of their launch, and that launch was actually achieved with the Chronograph 1. That was the first object released by Porsche Design. First one that Ferdinand Alexander Porsche conceived to initiate this new company in 1972. And at the time, with its black PVD coated case, it had the dubious honor, I should say, of being the first, or simply one of the first, serially produced blacked out pieces. Of course, there are examples of people taking their own watches and quote unquote subjecting them to PVD treatment. Karl Lagerfeld's personal Royal Oak would be a very important example of that. I have found out recently that it is now held in the museum at the AP manufacturer, which should be very interesting to see, which excites me even more. Um, Toward the time when I would be able to actually go and visit that place in Le Brassus. Um, but all the limited editions, numbered editions that they have released in the 50th anniversary was a great launch for Porsche Design to draw some attention, find a new focus in terms of their watchmaking. As you know, in the past, um, Porsche design watches were made by a number of different makers. IWC, of course, perhaps most famously, Orfina, but also Eterna, which Porsche design actually owned, pardon me, until they sold it to the Chinese some years back, and I think already more than a decade ago. Nowadays, they claim to do their own thing. They apparently have a manufacturer in Solothurn, Switzerland, um, and they keep releasing interesting watches. I think the Chronograph One remains their icon and still the most interesting watch they have. Um, they have now conceived a different version of the classic movements, which from their layout you can readily recognize as the Valjoux 7750. But they claim, at the very least, that they make something from scratch, which they call Werk 01240. Werk, of course, being the German word in this particular case for caliber. Of course, by and large, simply work. It has the added flyback functionality compared to your standard Valjoux 7750. And you can't quite see it here, but it has, just like we are used to from our beautiful Seiko watches, it has a bilingual day wheel as well, which gives you alternatively, and according to your heart's desire, either English days or German days. That is the 75 Jahre, the 75 years of Porsche edition, which celebrates actually the release of the first Porsche sports car, namely the Porsche 356. And it actually has not only this interesting strap. I couldn't quite figure out the reason for the stitching. I quite like the nylon aesthetic, as you guys know, for watch straps. I'm a big fan of NATO straps and similar. Of course, the red complements beautifully the red accents on the dial, which, of course, in their turn, harken back to the dashboards of those beautiful cars. That is represented by the centrally deployed chronograph seconds hand in this model. The contrast stitching in some sort of aqua blue or turquoise, I guess just because it is the hype of the season, it is the hype color still. Anyway, the other wonderful detail is that it actually gives this Werk 01 to 40 a rotor that is designed just like Fuchs wheel. And it's an interesting fidget spinner, so to speak, which would set you back $11,000. But it's quite cool, I guess. This is one of, as you can see here, this is one of 475 pieces. The case may have the look of ceramic, perhaps. It is not. It is a titanium case with black carbide DLC coating. I love the way it looks, and I think you can say safely that it is an improvement over the original method, even though I find it quite charming. The older PVD coated watches as they age, that's personal taste. But from a technical perspective, of course, it looks like an improved aesthetic, an improved material. And another thing that is different from the original model are these extended end links, which I think with the new leather straps and nylon straps make for a more comfortable wearing experience. Here is the other limited edition that they showed me in this Beverly Hills boutique they just opened. They just reopened, I should say. And as you can see, that's is set for English since it has Saturday rather than Samstag. And this is the Ice Race edition for 2023, one of 250. So it has a titanium case, which has a more gray finish, and it is matched with both that special white, I think, a Velcro strap, in fact, that harkens to that Campri that's held over ice. And it also has these leather straps, which is provided for that 75 years of Porsche edition as well, which is marketed as, what is it? Genuine Porsche vehicle leather. I don't know. I think in any other case, if any other car manufacturer came up with an entire line of watches, I would probably find it very gimmicky. When sometimes several different companies did watches for Ferrari or Scuderia Ferrari specifically, their racing team. Some examples have been really gimmicky and not really to my liking. Others are amazing, like Gérard Perregaux has Foudroyante Rattrapante chronograph that they made for Ferrari, for example. That's very not only very tasteful but also incredibly impressive in terms of its flashing seconds as well as split seconds chronograph functions. Porsche design, I think I give them credit because they have been out there since 1972, and the Chronograph 1 is really an iconic model. I didn't really care to look at any of their other watches. I'm not a fan really, but I think the Chronograph 1 deserves a nice look, except of course the price point is a little much. But then again, there is at least something new they're trying to do with the flyback functionality, which, as you might know, in any regular chronograph, to start timing a second interval, you have to do a few moves to get to that place, right? You know, you have to press stop, reset, and then start again, right? To start from scratch. Whereas the flyback allows you, while the chronograph is running, allows you to push the resets and everything will go back to zero and continue running immediately without you having to restart. So it's a nice thing to play around. It's a nice thing to fidget. As I mentioned, the pricing is $11,000 for that. 75 years of Porsche limited edition, and it is somewhere around, I want to say 9,650 for the Ice Race GP 2023 edition. JB, thank you so much. Could you share your feedback on 114 339 millimeters blue dial? JB, thank you so much for $9.99 in US dollars. Let's bring it up. Let's bring it up. This is the now discontinued Oyster Perpetual 39 millimeters. I think it is already gone now for almost 3 years. In 2020. Let me bring it up. Honestly, I like the older expression of the OPs a little better. It might be the fact that I have skinny wrists, but I always thought the OP41 is a little too large for what it is. And OP36, to me, too small. So I thought the 39 was actually quite an interesting size, quite an interesting, point. So I think I like that. For the Explorer, a lot of people will lament its discontinuation. It came back, it got resurrected as 40, so perhaps that has allayed some of those anxieties. I like the dial design of the older OP series of the previous generation, because it makes that distinction between 3, 6, and 9 without having to double the markers. For me, the only way the double markers are acceptable are at noon, at 12 o'clock. Of course, for Rolex, that is for the most part reserved to the crown, to the coronet. So this is actually, I think, a really nice way to set that distinction, making everything baton and making the 369 a little wider, and in this case luminous as well. I always like a blue dial on Rolex. I think it looks great, especially the sunburst blue, and those lime green markers behind the batons, I think, adds a quirky touch to this OP, which I appreciate, right? Because the OP is supposed to offer something different. You can say something youthful, because it was traditionally the the point of entry, the point of access of uh, a younger customer, a younger collector for Rolex watches. Um, Obviously, again, you can. I don't know how much one cares about these things, right? Sometimes when I say something like this, people, if they're listening for the first time, perhaps get the impression that I don't care about horology. That couldn't be further from truth. But sometimes I feel people obsess too much about transitions from one generation of Rolex movements to another, when they're in such close proximity. I I could really care less, honestly. But if you did, of course, when these were discontinued, the new generation that came in was upgrading the movements as well. I think this generation works on the 3130, whereas the new generation of OPs works in third on 3230, which of course has an upgrade, 70 hours power reserve, among other things. I believe this particular piece has the older movements. Let me double check on that. Yeah, it has the 3132. So the 3130 generation, um, which has, to begin with, smaller, lesser power reserve. So if you care about those things, that is a minor gripe. There's no OP39 anymore, so you'll either have to size up or size down. Of course, I'm actually a big fan of the non-hyped colors when it comes to the Oyster Perpetual uh, in the current lineup. Um, Except, of course, I happen to like that so-called celebration dial, Sumi. But anything other than the black dial would honestly work, if you ask me. Um, but again, the new lineup leaves you with just those two choices, right? It's either 36 or 41. And at 41, uh, of course, you have the blue. At 36 too, you have blue. Um, I think 36 and 41 have the same dial options, but I might be. No, of course not. 36, of course, has still the turquoise and the cotton candy pink, which 41 does not. I'm sorry for getting that momentarily. Um, a lot of people like the silver. Um, I think I don't really like the gold accents it brings to the dial. Honestly, I would love it in a more monochromatic fashion. Green is always a winner when it comes to Rolex. Um, the turquoise Tiffany blue, I never understood the craze on a watch dial, even though it is a color that I really like otherwise. Give it to me as a pocket square. I will wear it everywhere. Um, the blue is amazing here too. The pink is great. The black I don't necessarily understand for the OP, because that's just too predictable, and you want the Oyster Perpetual to be a little more fun. But yeah, you are quite constrained when it comes to the 41, because you can only get it in silver, green, celebration, blue, and black. So I think overall the 39 is a great option. Um, by all means, it's probably going to be much more obtainable, much easier to find, buy, and source. Yeah, JB, I said the opposite. I'm sorry, man. I think the gold accents on the silver are there to make it a little more legible, and Robert is complaining about that, and rightly so. Right? It must be a pain not being able to read time easily on a time only watch, right? What excuse do you have for a three-hander to be illegible, to be hard to read? So while I understand um, the gilt accents on the dial, because they are there to enhance legibility, I don't think they actually do. So, you might as well find another way of enhancing the legibility, and maybe go with something a little more monochromatic. I don't know. I don't know. Um, I like the blue. Still, I think my favorite dial color out of these has to be blue. So if you can find the 114 300 in blue, you'll be paying probably half the price. Not half the price, sorry. Less than what you would pay for one of these at retail. I think 39 is more wearable. um, Knowing your wrist shots and kind of the proportions, I would say the 39 is nicer. 41, OP41 really looks like a plate on most people's wrists to me. I don't particularly enjoy it. I might be the lone opinion for this, but yeah, the previous options were at 41. Um, just like, I don't know. I don't know if there was ever candy pink, but certainly there was the coral red. There was the so-called Tiffany blue or turquoise, and there was, of course, green, blue, and black, and silver, as they're still available. Robert says it's the same problem with a gold face with gold hands. The blue is tremendous, but I also like the black. The black one is the one I tried on, and the markers really pop on it. Look, Robert, I mean, that's a great argument for it. And, there's a reason as to why traditionally dive watches were made with wide, generous, luminous plots over a black dial, right? Legibility. So while I completely agree with you that it is hard to beat a black dial with nice thick markers for hours in terms of legibility, I feel like I'm kind of off two minds, Robert. Please understand me. I feel like the Oyster Perpetual should be a little more exciting. And there's so many black dials in the professional range of Rolex, in the range of Rolex sports watches that we are so used to. So OP with a black dial seems to me a little too Rolex. That's perhaps exactly what you want, in which case, absolutely. Robert says, I agree with you. 39 is better, even on my 7.5-inch wrist. Great. Nice to get approval from a real man. Um, I think with my puny wrists, sometimes I feel like I am too biased. I am too much of a partisan for smaller watches, for vintage pieces. So it's always good to see that others who don't suffer from the same problem agree as well. So what I wanted to say about the Only Watch, I think this is very exciting news. Um, I have to be honest with you. I haven't followed them internationally before this, before the pandemic. So I don't know if this was part of course. I don't know if they were always doing world tours, but it kind of makes sense because they have the resources of Christie's behind them. But from the first week September until the first week of November, for about 2 months before the auction itself kicks off in Geneva, they're going to have viewings for the watches that are going to participate in the Only Watch auction. For those who might be chancing upon this channel and for those who might not know what Only Watch is or what the Only project is about, this is an initiative that was created by Luc Petavino, um, and it is bringing the entire industry together to raise funds for research on Duchenne muscular dystrophy, um, which is a genetic disease that concerns 1 in 3,500 boys and weakens progressively all their muscles. And that also affected Luc and Monique's son, Paul. And there is sometimes an overarching theme as well, which in this case was all colors of the rainbow. And all these watchmakers, small and large, sometimes teaming up with each other, come and flex their horological muscles, create one of a kind pieces, um, only watches, to raise funds to benefit research on Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Um, Christie's is running the auction, so they are going to bring these pieces for viewing in a number of major cities, 8 in total. The impression that I'm given is that they are going to bring basically all of the watches in the run-up to the November the 5th auction, which is going to be held in Palexpo in Geneva. So they are going to be in Los Angeles between September 6th and 9 in their Beverly Hills joint, in their Beverly Hills branch. Next, from September 14th to September 17th, they're going to be in New York at Christie's in Rockefeller Plaza. Next, they're going to be in Monaco at the end of September, 27th to 30th of September at the Monaco Yacht Show. In Hong Kong on October the 5th and the 6th at Christie's, which is on the 22nd floor of Alexandra House, Central Hong Kong. Next up, they're going to be in Bangkok, October 11th and 12th at the Christie's branch there in the Gaysorn Tower. October 20th to 22nd, they're going to be in Singapore. October 27th, they're going to be in Dubai, hosted by Ahmed Siddiqui and Sons at the Museum of the Future. Interesting concept. Museum of the Future. And then finally, the watches are going to arrive in Geneva when they will be auctioned off on November 5th, but they could be viewed by public between the 3rd and the 5th at the Four Seasons Hôtel de Berg, Quai de Berg 33. This is pretty amazing. I will most certainly be there when they stop at Los Angeles. I'm very excited about it, and I'm so glad they're stopping here first. For once, we are getting something, and we are getting them earlier than everyone else, before everyone else. So that's great. Doesn't always happen. I mean, let's not cry too much about it. Southern California is great when it comes to watch events, although, comparatively speaking, although we don't get as much as the importance of the place should imply in terms of the number of collectors and the buying power people have. Robert also says the legibility for the blue dial on the OP is excellent as well. I just meant that the shine of the markers really popped on the black, but I hear what you are saying. Hey, it's just a different opinion. Honestly, it's not a big a black dial Rolex. Who can really argue with that, right? You can't really go wrong, except in a way you would be doing one of the most predictable things that one can do. um, Feel free to click the like button, by the way, if you haven't already. That really helps. That always helps. I really appreciate you all, especially you, JB, for your super chats, but also, of course, Robert, for participating so eagerly and in such a detailed manner. I love people who communicate in full sentences so nicely and clearly and eloquently and in some detail. So, love having you in the chat and on the panel as well, Robert. It's great to have you. So, here's the controversial topic of the night: jewelry and watches, and jewelry watches specifically. We were looking earlier, a couple of days ago, to some of the selections at in Eichen Zurich. Again, they are actually one of the oldest in terms of auction houses focusing on wristwatches as collectibles, as collectible objects. But more recently, I think they have changed hands just a couple of years ago. They have been playing the role of disruptor, focusing a lot on online exclusive auctions, um, doing also specific kinds of curations that center around a theme. They have done things that are quite simple and predictable, such as tourbillon, chronographs, calendar functions, uh, perpetual calendars, etc. Those kinds of things, but also quirkier and also more inventive categorizations, like the German-speaking watches that they did, for example, last year, if I'm not mistaken, where they had um, of course, the usual suspects, such as A. Lange und Söhne, Glashütte Original, um, vintage Lange pieces, uh, as well as some interesting IWC, um, Moza, and others. So they kind of did this hybrid thing where they brought together some great examples of German-made watches with watches that were made in the German-speaking parts of Switzerland. And since they are based in Zurich, which of course is not only the financial center of the country, but also the biggest city in the German speaking contingent. So it made sense for them. And I think also it makes sense to underline a different tradition of watchmaking within Switzerland as well, because uh, rightly or not, Valet de Joux, uh, that range of watchmakers laid out around the range of Jura mountains, um, get all the credit for Swiss watchmaking for the most part. So it was a novel idea for them. At any rate, this time they decided to actually focus on something less predictable, jewelry watches, in an auction that started a few days ago and that is going to go until the end of the month. July 30th is when it closes. And they have brought together a number of different pieces, from pendant watches to extremely feminine jewelry pieces, but also sometimes sporty pieces, Rolex pieces that simply have um, a gem set bezel. So it runs the whole gamut, and we're gonna have a lot of fun, I think, going through some of the interesting options. I'm gonna send the link in the chat, so if you would like me to take a look at any of the watches that I'm skipping over or that I didn't pay attention to, that you want to go ahead, go forward, and bring to my attention highlights, feel free, send in the number with a super chat, and I'll be more than happy to go into that particular watch and delve into some historical and horological detail. Let's start with lot number one, which is a Rolex GMT Master 2. This is Saru, which refers to the gems on the bezel. Basically, a very extravagant, very flamboyant expression of Rolex GMT Master 2 Pepsi, with sapphires taking the place, the blue sapphires taking the place of the blue um, part of the bicolor 24-hour bezel, and the red taking the place of the red part of the bezel that form together Pepsi. So the blue sapphires represent, in this case, the night hours, and the red, the morning hours, or the day hours, rather. The dial itself is pavé, laid out with encrusted diamonds, and the lugs, the crown guards, as well as the center links of the bracelets of this white gold watch is furthermore set with diamonds. Continuing, in a way, some of the best traditions of gem setting Rolex sports watches that go um, by now decades back. And, gem set Rolex sports pieces, I think, have a particular charm because a lot of the early examples were always very special commissions made for VVVIP clients, usually sultans and sheikhs and just extremely um, rich clients. So it always has a certain glamour attached to it. Let's not forget that the very words chic in French and English actually comes from the word sheikh. So it does have that sort of undeniable attraction, even though some might not like it, some might not find it tasteful. In this case, we're looking at lot one, lot number one, which is Rolex GMT Master 216759 Saru from around 2012. A white gold GMT Master on the matching oyster bracelet, pavé diamonds on the dial, blue sapphires and red rubies on the GMT bezel, and further diamond setting on the lugs, crown guard, as well as the center links of the bracelet. This piece is currently being bid at 92,700 in US dollars. With about 9 days to go, there is a fixed price, which may be used as a buy it now option at any time to end the auction. And as always, as is the case with In Eichen, there's no buyer's premium. So whenever this is hammered, what you see is what you get, what you see is what you will pay, which makes things easier, both from the perspective of understanding and assessing the pricing, but also as a buyer, certainly represents an advantage. JB says Pimpin Pepsi. I agree that was a cool piece. OGBG, for your information, someone has cloned my name saying vile stuff. I'm sorry to hear that, OGBG. I haven't seen it in my chat. Believe it or not, and some people still insist on not believing it. If you don't see me chatting somewhere, if you don't see me on the screen, and that nowadays happens at JJ's Watch Hangouts, it happens sometimes at Watch Art Sci. It happens sometimes on Watchbox. When Tim Masso opens a show, sometimes I have time and I want to participate a little bit. I really don't watch anything else. So if someone else is doing something, saying something behind my back, talking shit about me, whatever else, I don't know, and I really don't care. If anything is said against me in your name, I would not have believed it anyways, OGBG, because I love you, I respect you, I haven't done anything wrong. So I know you haven't, you wouldn't do something like that to me. But if I see anything like that in my chat, I'll take care of it immediately. Otherwise, don't worry about it too much. It happens. these trolls are never relenting, and they usually have just that one source. Um, but I don't even want to waste my breath. But thank you for sharing that. I just want to say I'm not worried, and I hope it doesn't worry you too much either. We're looking at lot number 2 in the auction that In Eichen calls Gemstone Symphony. This is a curation they did for the second half of the month of July. We have about 9 days to go until it closes. We are looking at Rolex Skydweller, which is Rolex's approach to the annual calendar, but also with a GMT function as well, with a 24-hour indicator. Thank you, OGBG. Thank you. $10. I appreciate you. Yeah, it's always the same group of people. It's always mostly the same person, OGBG. I'm so sorry that it keeps happening. It spills over less and less to my channel. I snuff it out when it does, but sometimes it's so unrelenting that it's difficult. So this is 326259 TBR. It is a Skydweller on Oysterflex with a meteorite dial that uses, for the most part, baguette diamonds as hour markers. Of course, there's the coronet at 12 o'clock and kind of brilliant cut at 6 o'clock. As you guys know, this is month and date, basically, right? And you only have to manipulate it as long as it keeps running at the beginning of March, because an annual calendar knows the difference between months that have 30 days and 31 days, but doesn't know the difference, or cannot calculate or cannot account for the difference between the short month and as it jumps into March. So you'll have to set it, correct it for March 1st, but other than that, it takes care of the rest. And it shows the months, the 12 months, right behind, right around the dial and right behind of the hour markers. Of course, there are 12-hour markers, which fits neatly into the 12 months of the calendar year. There's that ring or oversized subdial, which, with the help of the red arrow under the signature of the brand, shows the hour in another time zone, which can be, of course, simply a reference time or home time or simply GMT. And the watch, as you can see, has a meteorite dial, which Rolex tends to treat in this kind of neutral way. And it also has diamonds on the bezel, as well as the entire case, including the case band, as you can see from these angles. not to mention the matching white gold clasp, which serves as the closure on this Oyster Flex setup as well. Again, we're looking at an unworn example from last year of reference 326259 TBR, which is Sky Dweller, white gold Sky Dweller on Oyster Flex that is entirely bedecked with diamonds, basically, except for the meteorite dial, which is itself set with baguette diamonds as markers. This piece is currently being bid at 173,800 in US dollars. There is also a buy it now option, which is set at 347,550. That was lot number 2. Lot number 4 is Vacheron Constantin Overseas. This is the reduced size version in 37 millimeters with that Maltese cross styled bezel, diamond sets, off-center small seconds that is placed at 9 o'clock and framed with that rhodium plated ring. I think these are quite cool as well, if perhaps slightly feminine. The new reduced size is now offered at, I think, 34 millimeters. I had the pleasure to try those when they had a little party going at Vacheron Constantin Suite 1755. Let me see if I have any pictures, at least, that I can share with you quickly. I do. The 37, for better or worse, is not offered without the gem set bezel anymore, but the new reduced size is, and it actually is a good looking watch. I'm not sure if I would consider this as an option, even if I were shopping for this particular model. But that being said, it looks absolutely stunning in stainless steel and in pink gold as well. And in pink gold, actually, it could be a great alternative to a Rolex Day-Date 36, for example. Yes, we were talking about lot number 4 in Eichen Gemstone Symphony jewelry watches. This reduced size Vacheron Constantin overseas, 37 millimeters, and with that bezel that is diamond sets. Of course, that the design of the bezel, pardon me, harkens back to the Maltese cross, which is the symbol of the brand, but it also looks kind of like a ship's wheel, right? And so it intones with, or it intones that theme of a journey of travel that the Overseas as a series is trying to invoke. I think my favorite in their Overseas line these days is the retrograde moon phase, honestly. Um, I think that's an interesting alternative to the time and date version nowadays, with both the moon phase and the retrograde date function. This particular piece offers quite a neat and unique dial layout um, that is not interrupted by a date window. It is all in stainless steel on its integrated matching bracelets. And in 37 millimeters. This particular example is from 2021. The piece has all the other features, all the other um, abilities that you expect from the Overseas: anti-magnetic movements, 150 meters of water resistance. It has the same modularity with the changeable bracelets, which you can replace with rubber, which you can replace with leather. I'm not sure if it is, if this particular example is offered with anything other than the integrated bracelets. The movement is different, even though this is also a self-winding watch. And it has 44 hours of power reserve compared to the full-sized 41 millimeters of Overseas, which has 60. This has caliber 5300. I think the standard is caliber 5100, if I'm not mistaken. So lot 4 for a reduced size Vacheron Constantin Overseas with the blue dial and the diamond set bezel, With 9 days to go, this piece is currently being bid at 15,100. And the fixed price for the buy it now option is set at 25,500 in US dollars. Again, if you have any questions about any of the watches that I skipped over or that I have not gotten to yet, feel free to send in the lot number with a super chat. There's some interesting pieces of jewelry. A Harry Winston Premier chronograph, which is a mother of pearl dial and a case set with diamonds. Harry Winston's case designs a lot of times integrate those three-finger columns, which evoke the image of the facade of their flagship store in New York. This is a rather small piece, quite a feminine piece, 32 millimeters, and also with a quartz movement. Mother of pearl dial with those pink gold colored chronograph registers, which are decked with diamonds. Arabic numerals with the HW logo at 12 o'clock, signed right under that as well. 12-hour counter at 3 o'clock, 30-minute totalizer at 9 o'clock, and the continuous running seconds at 6. And the case itself is set with diamonds as well. It's a pink gold case. With a diamond bezel. Pink gold case is matched with an 18 karat pink gold déployant clasp. The crown itself is set with a diamond as well, which has a multifaceted cut. The piece is currently being bid at 6,400 US dollars. That was the starting bid. The fixed price, which can end the auction at any time, is $14,500. Once again, no buyer's premium. There's a ladies two-hander watch by Daniel Roth at lot 11. And it is a piece that has a lot of the visual cues and signatures of the Daniel Roth brand, including the double ellipse case shape, ellipsa curvex, as it's also called. The guilloche dial, which here has a silver gray background with the pinstripe guilloche decoration that has become an identifiable mark of Daniel Roth, even though more rarely other types of dials and other guilloche motifs have been used. The hours are Roman numerals laid out on a Breguet frosted track, arrow hands made out of stainless steel and heat blued, self-winding movements for this smaller case, for this reduced size case, which is 31.7 by 25.9. As a point of comparison, a time-only Daniel Roth with small seconds, to be sure, would be 35 by 32. So that's the man's size. This is the woman's size. And I think the double ellipse case, the Ellipsa Curvex case, lends itself pretty well to gem setting. As you can see, diamonds on the bezel and the lugs flatter this piece quite well. The piece is in 18 karat yellow gold. Self-winding movements. Look at that architectural design, that sculptural appearance of the case. It's really beautiful. Solid case back. The watch has clearly seen some polish, but nothing excessive. The outlines of the case are still quite sharp. Matching pin buckle, which is itself set with diamonds. And the piece actually comes with the presentation box Jesus. Yeah, I don't know what the hell is wrong with this microphone. Sometimes it just goes out. Is it better now? Hopefully we just missed out on the G. All right, everyone left. Great. Well, I'll continue talking to myself. We were looking at Lot 12 of the Gemstone Symphony by In Eichen, their curation of jewelry pieces, jewelry watches. At Lot 12, they have a classic design by Corum, which is called Golden Bridge. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Brand Headlights. The Golden Bridge has a very specific kind of movement architecture, which basically puts the gear train on a single bridge, vertically placed, with the crown at 6 o'clock. And it has a very extensive exhibition of that movement, not only with sapphire crystals in the front and on the back, but also on the case band as well. Everything else, except for the case back, is framed, is outlined with gem setting, in this case with diamonds, on this 18 karat pink gold case that is 32.5 millimeters. And that gem setting is continued in the matching 18 karat pink gold pin buckle as well. The piece is presented with its original box and papers, including outer packaging. And as you can see, the movement itself, the bridge itself, it has some engraving work as well. Hey, JB, thanks for coming back. Thanks for coming back, everybody. And thanks for your patience. It happens. I keep changing the cable on this microphone, but doesn't seem to cure it. I'll order another cable and see if that makes a difference. Lot 12 is Corum Golden Bridge in this 18 karat pink gold case, an all-around exhibition of the movement, which has the unique architecture. It's all in the name, Golden Bridge. And the entire thing is framed, outlined in diamond setting. The piece is currently being bid at $11,050 in US dollars. With about 9 days to go, there's a buy it now option set at 23,200 in US dollars. And again, no buyer's premium involved. Very interesting, an artistic piece, signature Corum. We're looking at a very nice Cartier tank basculante at lot 17. The tank basculante is, in so many ways, Cartier's response to the Reverso. This particular piece is reference 2526 from around year 2000, 22.5 by 32.5 with a quartz movement. So this is the feminine version of the basculante. The piece has the stylized Arabic numerals laid out around a railroad track for the minutes, sword-shaped, heat-blued hands that are quite legible against the backdrop of a silvered classic Cartier dial. And as you can see, the case flanks are decked with diamonds. The typical cabochon is uniquely replaced here above the crown with a diamond as well. And as you can see, the case is reversible and diamonds will greet you on the background as well. The carriage itself is decorated with the double wishbone logo of the brand of Cartier. Very beautiful jewelry piece in white gold with the matching déployant clasp and extravagantly decorated with diamonds. Front, on the sides, and also on the case back, which you can view by reversing it on the hinge. The piece also comes with its original documents and the classic red presentation box. Thank you, Brand Headlights. I tried to do something different today. We don't really talk a lot about jewelry pieces and women's watches in this space. So it's good to change gears once every so often. It's also good to gauge the reaction. You know, I'm surprised that I haven't been attacked yet. So it's good overall. This Cartier Tank Basculante, again, from around year 2000, in white gold, beautifully decorated with diamond setting, operates on a quartz movement with 9 days remaining on the clock. It is being bid at 11,600 in US dollars. And there is a buy it now option with the price set at 23,200 in US dollars. There's no buyer's premium once again. So that is an interesting option. Okay, I think it's set. JB. So I'm very honored. Yeah, I think the decision is made. Thank you, for your contribution. Thank you so much. And yeah, you don't have to worry. I mean, I check these things once every so often, but if you guys send me a message and I don't see it immediately, and it is urgent, whether it's an email or a message on Instagram, you should let me know in the chat always. But yes, I saw your message. Challenge accepted, as one says. I look forward to seeing you. I should take care of the arrangements probably tomorrow so we don't get delayed. So we are looking at some of the selections in Eichen's Gemstone Symphony. This is a very unique model, Perles de Cartier, Pearls of Cartier, a quirky design that probably wouldn't make sense in any other house, but somehow fits just right in Cartier. A very unique case design that explicitly centers on gem setting and using pearls and a mother of pearl dial. The dial for the time is completely off center, completely eccentric, and is executed as a kind of bulge that sticks onto the primary dial. That simply houses the two pearls, as well as a mother of pearl dial that has the Roman numerals 8, 9, and 10, of which the 8 houses the silent, or secret rather, Cartier signature. There are two pearls set on that dial, one of which is more or less in the middle at the center, the other also off center and slightly bulging out as well. Kind of a Pac-Man like design with the larger, with the big fish eating the small, with the larger dial having the smaller dial in its mouth. And the bezels of all these dials, including the two-hander time dial, the two pearls, as well as the larger dial, is framed by diamond setting, a very unique piece, mother of pearl, pearl, and diamonds, with timekeeping seemingly relegated to a secondary function. The pearls you can also see from the back of the watch. And the piece is powered by a quartz movement with a really thin . case in 18 karat white gold. And as you can see, the time setting is done with a pusher on the back. As you can see from the design, this is a crownless watch. So the time setting is actually done through this pusher in the back. The case band 2 is set with 4 rows of diamonds. On this side and 3 on the other, 3 on the left flank, 4 on the right, and the classic Cartier tank buckle, which is itself set with diamonds in its immediately recognizable shape. The piece is currently being bid at $14,500 in US dollars, with about 9 days to go. The fixed price is set at $30,150 in US dollars, and that can end the auction at any time. This is lot 18 for a Perle de Cartier. A quartz-powered watch with an off-center dial, 2 mother-of-pearl dials, 2 pearls that go through the dial and through the case back, all of which are set with diamonds. That was lot 18, which is currently being bid at $14,500 in US dollars. We're looking at patrimony traditionnel. This is Vacheron Constantin dress watch, and it is done in their unique style. Classic dress watch by Vacheron in a 38 millimeter white gold case. The piece not only has a diamond bezel, diamond set bezel, but also diamond hour markers on its silvered opaline white dial, which has stacked diamonds for the hour markers with a row of 4 diamonds at the quarters, 12, 3, 6, and 9 o'clock. Dauphine hands for the hour and minutes, and a railroad track for the minutes as well. A hand wound movement, which makes this a very cool dress watch with a slender case profile. The piece, of course, comes with a classic Vacheron Constantin tang buckle, which harkens back to the Maltese cross, the symbol of the brand, the symbol of the manufacturer. And this particular example also comes as a full set with its box, papers, product literature, as well as its outer packaging. The 38 millimeter Vacheron Constantin Patrimony Traditionnel in white gold with a diamond set bezel, as well as diamond setting for the hour markers. This is lot 19, currently being bid at 9,300. The fixed price, which can trigger the end of the auction at any point in time as a buy it now option, is set at 19,700 for this Vacheron Constantin Patrimony Traditionnel at lot 19. Oh yeah, the belt with the Maltese cross buckle. I remember that. Chris, Rolex didn't fix it? I don't know why they wouldn't. The Rolex Service Center refuses to fix an Oyster quartz. What kind of quartz Rolex watch is this? Chris, I'm jealous that you have a Cockney accent. I wish I had a Cockney accent. um, I wish I had a Cockney accent, man. It's I'm jealous of you. Michael Caine has a Cockney accent. It's worked well for him. So you got to make it work for you, man. Again, a beautiful piece by Harry Winston, and it really shows you why and how these kinds of pieces from true jewelry houses really shine. This is also a quartz powered piece, unworn, with their unique approach to the T-bar lugs that are entirely also those three fingers, which are three-fingered column, which are part of their visual cues, serve as part of the T-bar that connects the round case to the leather strap, diamond set bezel, brilliant diamonds for hour markers, and also a diamond at the top of the crown as well, if I'm not mistaken. Diamonds on the buckle. Chris, I'm not in the UK, so I don't really know who to recommend you if the Rolex Service Center doesn't take care of you. I'm kind of surprised. The last time I heard from them that they still served the quartz pieces. I wonder if this is a new practice or just someone who just didn't want to bother. Um, did you go to an authorized dealer? Did you call specifically into the Rolex Service Center? Let me know. Maybe if you call them directly or if you write to them directly, you might get a different answer, because the authorized dealers sometimes give you their own spiel. It's they don't necessarily bother sometimes even pushing it or making your case to the service center. They sometimes simply don't want to bother. So let's see what this is. Mother of pearl dial on this piece. I really love the alpha hands, uh, which are kind of in a way cut and shaped like diamonds and multifaceted. The hour markers, which are diamonds too, are inserts on to this mother of pearl dial, which has a spotted big cat like pattern, which makes this a super feminine piece. Quartz powered, white gold, diamond sets with a mother of pearl dial. This is Harry Winston Premier at lot 20, which is currently being bid at $12,200 in US dollars with about 9 days to go. The buy it now price is set at $24,350 in US dollars. There's a vintage AP ladies watch, which has a jade dial and a very interesting TV-shaped case with extended lugs. Yellow gold case. .33 by 35. Beautiful jade dial, which has a lot of visual depth. Pencil hands, brilliant diamonds as hour markers, and diamonds on the bezel of this yellow gold TV-shaped case. Solid case back and the matching pin buckle. Lot 25, a vintage ladies piece by Audemars Piguet with a jade dial. Brilliant diamond set as hour markers and diamonds on the bezel as well. The piece is currently being bid at $8,700 in US dollars. With about 9 days to go, the buy it now price is fixed at $18,550 in US dollars. Yeah, look, I'm not surprised that it's expensive. That much is expected, unfortunately, because sometimes if they can't salvage the quartz movements, if there is a problem, maybe if the battery leaked or something nasty like that, they might have to change the whole circuitry. Um, and that can cost a lot. Not ideal, but it happens. That being said, you should be able to call the you should be able to call the Rolex service center directly. Let me see. What's the Rolex service center UK? Yeah, sometimes it's better to try to find them directly if you can. Yeah, you see there's Rolex Service Center Kings Hill. It says Rolex Service Center London St. James. Um, yeah, so those are two options. Let me see if I can. See, they have a phone number and, of course, an address as well. And yeah, I didn't do anything special. I just Googled Rolex Service Center. And then, there's a whole list. But if you scroll down, you will see that they have listed one for Kings Hill, one for London St. James's. And in each case, they actually have operational hours. They should have some sort of storefront. They always accepted, at least before the pandemic, walk-ins where you can take in your watch, submit it for an estimate, which probably requires them to take a certain deposit. But in your case, whether you go in person or whatever, I would recommend first that you explain your situation, that you wanted this service. They said the entire thing needs to be replaced. And they refused to even do it when I tried to go through this jeweler or authorized dealer. I wanted to come directly to you. Can you perhaps, still fix these? And if you can, you know, how do we go about it? Can you give me a quote? Can you give me an estimate? Yeah, that's great. I love heirloom pieces, so I'm glad that you're keeping it. I'm glad you're looking over it, and I hope you can get it running again um, in no time. This is a watch, a jump hour piece that is made by the famous watchmaker Vincent Calabrese for the German luxury brand Goldpfeil, a model that's called Seven Masters, which has that trapezoid at the upper part of the dial for the hour. The brand's symbol I believe points to the minutes at the center of the dial. And at 6 o'clock, at the traditional 6 o'clock, you have a date window and the turning dial at the center, which serves to indicate the minutes, is actually framed by 6 rows of brilliant diamonds. This is a 30.5 millimeters yellow gold case, a total of 2.33 carats of diamonds. The watch is presented on a black alligator strap and has a matching yellow gold pin buckle. Beautiful case with slightly rounded lugs and coin edging on the band. The brand's logo, the arrow, is also signed on the crown. An interesting, smaller, but very striking and feminine jump hour piece made by Vincent Calabrese for Goldpfeil. Here's a look at the movement, which I believe is worked on the base of a self-winding ETA movement, 2892-2. No worries, Chris. You're welcome. This is lot 26, Goldpfeil 7 Masters. The piece is currently being bid at 3,750 in US dollars. That was the starting bid with about 9 days to go. The fixed price is set at 8,700, which can be used as the buy it now option at any point in time. As is the case with, to my knowledge, all in Eichen auctions. There's no buyer's premium involved. So what you see is what you get. What you see is what you pay. At the next slot, we're looking at Breguet, Reine de Naples. Reine de Naples is actually made first literally for the Queen of Naples, Caroline Murat. who was the younger sister of the famous Napoleon Bonaparte. It has, at least in story, it has its origin as the first wristwatch ever made for a woman. This particular version is quite aesthetically pleasing, in addition to its oval shape and asymmetric lugs that set it on the leather strap. In 18 carats yellow gold, the dimensions of the case is 36.5 by 28 millimeters. The piece has a mother of pearl dial, off-center dial for the hour and minutes, which is done in the traditional Breguet fashion with guilloche decorations, Roman numerals, and heat blued hands. That off-center dial has an off-center seconds subdial on it at around 7 and 8 o'clock. Self-winding movement. With a moon phase indicator and a power reserve indicator up there up top. And a diamond set bezel. The crown, which is at 4 o'clock, is topped off by a blue sapphire cabochon. The piece has a matching 18 karat yellow gold déployant clasp that is diamond set. Thank you, Chris. Thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying the show. And there is that porthole like opening on the back, which allows you to glimpse onto that self-winding movement, with a full gold rotor, which has a guilloche decoration like a barley corn motif on it. The egg-shaped case, the oval case, is decorated with fluting, with that coin edging that has become quite characteristic of Breguet wristwatches. And this particular example comes with box and papers, including the outer packaging, presentation box, and some of the product literature as well. This particular model is 8908, reference 8908 for Breguet, Reine de Naples at lot 27. The piece is currently being bid at 11,600 in US dollars. The buy it now option is set at 23,200 in US dollars. That was lot 27. Please hit the like button, by the way. That always, always helps. There's very much a bracelet-like piece from AP again, quartz-powered ladies piece in 18 karat yellow gold with, again, basically a yellow gold bracelet with a 20 millimeter round case set on it. Let's put it like that. That is itself a watch, a two-hander with a diamond set dial, diamond set bezel, and there are diamond set details on the rest of the bracelet as well, which is like a bangle and has this elaborately decorated closure. The piece is from mid-90s, and at lot 28, it is currently being bid at 8,700 in US dollars. And the fixed price is set at 18,550 for this Audemars Piguet bangle-styled yellow gold piece with a 20 millimeter case, diamond set accents, which includes the bezel of the watch as well as its dial. Beautiful stainless steel heat blued hands help you tell the hour and minutes. There's an interesting Omega watch, white gold with diamonds and sapphires. Very elaborately set piece with a lapis lazuli dial. The case itself is again TV shaped, 29.5 millimeters, hand wound movements, white gold piece on its integrated brick style bracelet, and set with diamonds and blue sapphires that surround and ennoble that lapis lazuli dial with beautiful striations. The case is so beautifully made that makes the entire watch seemingly like a gem, right? You know, as if that is the enclosure in which the horological gem is set, integrated bracelets with this sort of chevron pattern. Lot 35, a white gold Omega ladies jewelry piece with a lapis lazuli dial white gold on an integrated bracelet, framed by beautiful blue sapphires and diamonds. The piece is currently being bid at $7,000 with about 9 days to go. And the buy it now price is set at $16,250, which can end the auction at any point in time. That's cool. Thanks, Chris. Take care. Good talking. At lot 36, we're looking at Chopard Imperial. The design harkens very much to Cartier's Pasha. I don't know if it has similar origins. I don't actually know much about the Chopard Imperial. This particular piece comes with its box and papers. It is 36 millimeter white gold case with diamonds on the bezel, but also a kind of Maltese cross looking protection grid, which is itself covered with 5.75 carats of diamonds. There's not only a blue cabochon, sapphire cabochon on the crown, but also on the lugs. Very beautiful diamond setting, and a mother of pearl dial, which has Roman numerals at the quarters, three-hander with sweep center seconds, and lozenge-shaped hands for hour and minutes. The piece has a self-winding movement. The Chopard Imperial in 36 millimeters in a white gold case. Beautifully diamond set and with a mother of pearl dial. Blue sapphire cabochons for detail, for further detail. This is lot 36, which is currently being bid at $9,850 in US dollars. The fixed price is $19,700. Okay. At lot 45, we are looking at a Portuguese chronograph. In a 41 millimeter white gold case. Basically, it's only the diamond set bezel that sets this IWC Portuguese chronograph apart from similar models. Beautiful pairing of black and gold with the 12-6 layout, 30-minute totalizer at 12 o'clock, continuous running seconds at 6. The rest of the dial is balanced by the script, IWC Schaffhausen at 3 o'clock and chronograph automatic at 9. Applied Arabic numerals and gold beads on the minute track. Of course, there's a centrally deployed chronograph seconds hand as well, in addition to those gold leaf styled hands for hour and minutes. The piece is matched with an 18 karat yellow gold IWC pin buckle, and it has a solid case back. This is the IWC Portuguesa chronograph, which comes with its original papers as well as a presentation box. Lot 45 is currently being bid at 7,550 with about 9 days to go. The buy it now price is set at 12,750. There's a beautiful Breguet tourbillon, hand wound. It's a stunning piece. The model number, the reference number, is 3358 in a 35 millimeter white gold case, classic Breguet with slightly elongated, downturned lugs with the teardrop shape. A case band finely fluted in its entirety. The piece is diamond set on the bezel and the lugs. It has a silvered opaline white dial, which is engine turned by hand. Arabic numerals on the hour track. And heat blued Breguet hands. The tourbillon cage appears in a cutout at 6 o'clock with that three-pronged seconds hand that points, that indicates the seconds in a scale of 0 to 20 for each third, for each 20 seconds of a minute. That beautiful bridge, as well as the scale for the minutes, is set in place, is bolted down by heat blued screws. The seconds hands too are heat blued, and the tourbillon cage is framed by the base plate, which is beautifully hand engraved. And you can see more of that hand engraved work with gilt writing that commemorates the day of Abraham Louis Breguet's first patent for the tourbillon, The piece is diamond set on the tag buckle as well. Reference 3358 in 35 millimeters of white gold. Some beautiful hand engraving work that frames the tourbillon cage and ennobles the case back, and beautiful diamond setting on the bezel as well as the lugs for this Breguet hand-wound tourbillon at lot 43. The piece is currently being bid at $39,400 in US dollars. The fixed price is $69,550. No buyer's premium once again, and that buy it now price can be triggered at any point to finish the auction. Please hit the like button on the way out. I am closing this live stream in a few minutes. We have 2 more watches to look for, 2 more watches to go through. One from Vacheron Constantin, a very special piece, and equally special from Parmigiani Fleurier. We are going to look at lot 42, which is the Grand Complication Toric Minute Repeater GMT in platinum by Parmigiani Fleurier. This is a piece that has a 42 millimeter platinum case with a bezel set with baguette cut diamonds. It is a minute repeater and a GMT. As you can see, the crown is set with a sapphire cabochon. The dial is a striking black dial, which has their signature Grain d'Orge pattern, barley corn pattern. I believe the pushers are to set the GMT hand, the additional 24-hour hand, back and forth. I know one of the pushers are Yeah. Okay. Well, last two watches anyways, right? So let me go back to lot 41 and I will end with the Parmigiani Fleury. So let's start with this very special Vacheron Constantin Carla Baguette. This is a piece that is practically entirely set with baguette diamonds. A unique case shape with an interesting lug structure that seemingly integrates with the leather strap, or into which the leather strap is set. As you can see, the piece has almost an integrated look. The Cala Baguette comes with an extract from the archives. The piece is a white gold case at 40.5 millimeters, entirely set with full invisible baguette cut diamonds that amount to 9.33 carats, a solid gold case back, and a white gold crown that is set with a rose cut diamond. Look at some of these details. This is the left case flank. This was the case back. As you can see, the lugs are fully set with invisible sets baguette cut diamonds, which is the case all around. This is a two-hander with a moon phase complication, with a moon phase indicator. At 9 o'clock, which is set off by a mother of pearl detail that stands for kind of the clouds, right? It's a beautiful piece, the Cala Baguette at lot 41 by Vacheron Constantin. With about 9 days to go, the piece is currently being bid at $121,650 in US dollars. The fixed price is set at $225,950, right under $250,000. And that can be used as the buy it now option at any point in time before the auction concludes in about 9 days. In either case, and as with all in Eichen auctions, to my knowledge at least, there's no buyer's premium. Last but not least, I'm going back to lot 42 since we were experiencing technical difficulties. You're looking at a Grande Complication piece by Parmigiani Fleurier. This is lot 42. A minute repeater GMT in a 42 millimeter platinum toric case. Beautiful black dial with their distinctive Grain d'Orge barley corn guilloche decoration at the center. There's a date indicator on the periphery of the dial, a separate subsidiary dial for a 24-hour hand, for the GMT hand, small seconds at 9 o'clock, 2 Arabic numerals at 12 and 6 o'clock, an oversized Arabic numeral at noon, and above 6 o'clock, you have the plaque that carries the signature of the brand. The bezel is set exquisitely with baguette cut diamonds. The crown is set with a blue sapphire cabochon. Look at that beautiful toric case with downturned teardrop-shaped lugs and a rounded profile. And on the left flank, of course, you have the slider, which can activate the chiming function of the watch, sounding out, articulating the hours, quarters, and minutes. The two pushers, I believe, are dedicated to jump the hour back and forth to adjust it independently. But I might be wrong. I haven't handled this piece in person. Maybe one of the pushers is to quickly correct the date. I'm not sure, but I'm sure that one of them is certainly to move the hour hands quickly as you travel through time zones, as you set it through different time zones. As you can see, here's the beautiful movement with distinctive circular graining, the perlage on the base plate, finely striped bridge plates, black polished hammers, which sound out the time by striking this gong. The piece is signed here as number 1, which indicates its exclusivity, if not necessarily singularity. And the piece is matched with a platinum tang buckle, which carries the brand's distinctive fluted decoration on it as well. This is the Grande Complication by Parmigiani Fleurier from around year 2000. It is a minute repeater GMT in a 42 millimeter platinum toric case with the date function as well, with a striking guilloche decorated black dial with their signature barley corn pattern and a bezel set with baguette diamonds. This is lot 42, which is currently being bid at $69,550 in US dollars. The buy it now option is set at $142,500 in US dollars, and it can be used to end the auction at any point in time. As with any other in-Eichen auction, to my knowledge, there's no buyer's premium involved in either way. There are about 9 days to go. I have covered some jewelry watches today, for the most part. Gemstone Symphony, as in-Eichen called it. Their selection of jewelry pieces, jewelry watches, some very feminine pieces, others simply gem set versions of some of our favorites. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me at any time. If you want to support the channel, of course, super chats are always an option, but feel free to click any of the links in the video description. They're now in the crawling ticker as well. And I'm going to post the links in the chat too, if you would like to contribute. Thank you again for being with me tonight. Thank you especially to JB for his generous PayPal contribution, not to mention his super chat, and OGBG. I appreciate both of you and everyone else who has chimed in from the chat, who has contributed, asked questions, and advanced the conversation. I am grateful to you. Please hit the like button on the way out. I hope to see you tomorrow as well. You can always write comments to this video with your questions, and you should share a lot of the other contents. I post videos every other day in addition to the live streams, which happen on a daily basis. So check them out, share them far and wide, and help me expand the community. I really appreciate your help. And before I end, once again, I hope you stay safe, stay healthy, wear your watches, and enjoy them. I will see you on the next one tomorrow. Hopefully, I have some exciting announcements. I look forward to talking to you then. Take care.